All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a truly wild true story. We're tracking the journey of Richard Ebright, a guy whose childhood obsession with catching bugs literally unlocked some of the most profound secrets of human cellular biology. It is an incredible look at how seemingly simple hobbies, when you fuel them with just relentless curiosity, can lead to world-changing discoveries. So grab your mental magnifying glasses because the way this whole story unfolds, it is nothing short of spectacular. To really appreciate this journey, we actually need to start right in the middle of the action with a massive, unprecedented win. Picture this. At just 22 years old, Richard Ebright, who was a former Scout of the Year, basically blew the collective mind of the scientific world. He and his college roommate actually published a groundbreaking new theory on how cells work in the super prestigious proceedings of the National Academy of Science. And just to put that into perspective for a second, this was the very first time this important scientific journal had ever published the work of college students. In the sports world, that'd be like making the big leagues at age 15 and hitting a home run your very first time at bat. It was a colossal achievement. But, well, how exactly did he get there? Let's jump into Section 1, the spark of curiosity. To understand this ultimate success, we've got to rewind the clock a bit. Growing up as an only child, north of Reading, Pennsylvania, he didn't exactly have a team to play sports with. So instead, his mother really nurtured his bright mind, and he poured all that kid energy into collecting things. Starting in kindergarten, he collected rocks, fossils, coins, but butterflies? Butterflies were his true passion. Get this, by just the second grade, Richard had meticulously categorized and collected all 25 species and subspecies of butterflies found around his hometown, from gossamer wings to monarchs. I mean, most kids at that age are just learning to tie their shoes, right? And here he was, cataloging local ecosystems. But here is where the story almost ended. Having collected basically every local species, Everett was actually starting to lose interest. He'd kind of hit a wall. Recognizing this, his mom handed him a children's book titled The Travels of Monarch X. Now, this book detailed how monarch butterflies migrate to Central America. But more importantly, at the very end of the book, readers were invited by a real-life scientist, Dr. Frederick A. Urquhart from the University of Toronto, to actually help study butterfly migrations by tagging their wings. So this wasn't just reading anymore. This was an invitation to participate. It officially opened up the whole world of real, active science to this eager young collector.
Which brings us to Section 2, a scientific turning point, and Section 3, failing forward.
The journey from being an eager backyard collector to a world-class scientist actually required Ebright to completely unlearn what he thought science was. See, in his elementary years, he took this tagging project to the extreme. Because the butterfly season in Pennsylvania only lasts about 6 weeks, he couldn't just catch them one by one. No, he literally turned his basement into a monarch breeding ground. We're talking raising thousands of them, from egg to caterpillar to pupa to adult, just to tag and release them. But eventually it got pretty tedious. Out of those thousands, only 2 of his tagged butterflies were ever recaptured. So, starved for feedback and really wanting a new challenge, a 7th grade Ebright decided to enter the county science fair. And this brings us to a harsh, but honestly necessary, reality check. For the science fair, Ebright just brought some slides of frog tissues and showed them under a microscope. Now, it was a neat display, sure, but he essentially sat there and watched everybody else win a prize while he got absolutely nothing. But then, a light bulb went off. He realized the winners weren't just passively showing things off. They were actively testing scientific theories with real experiments. He learned a crucial lesson that day. Science is a verb, not a noun. It's an action. Moving right along to Section 4, the butterfly experiments. Armed with this totally new understanding of what a real experiment actually looks like, Ebright reached back out to Dr. Urquhart for new ideas, and he launched into a series of wild biological mysteries. One of his absolute cleverest high school projects dealt with visual mimicry. The theory at the time was that viceroy butterflies purposefully copy the look of monarchs. Why? Well, because monarchs supposedly taste absolutely terrible to birds, while viceroys apparently taste delicious. So the logic goes, the more a viceroy mimics a monarch, the safer it is from becoming lunch. But Ebright, who is thinking like a true scientist now, realized he had to test the foundational assumption of this entire theory. Will a bird actually eat a monarch in the first place? So he ran an experiment. And he found that a starling, a super common type of bird, would not eat ordinary bird food, but it would happily devour all the monarchs it could get its beak on. This completely flipped the assumption on its head, showing that, hey, in this specific predator-prey relationship, monarchs were definitely on the menu. This rigorous boundary-pushing project actually placed first in the zoology division.
Which brings us to Section 5, Unlocking the Cell's Blueprint.
This is the absolute climax of Ebright's early research. This is where a tiny, seemingly unimportant detail on a butterfly pupa literally changed human biology. During his sophomore year, he started investigating 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa. Everyone else just assumed they were ornamental, just pretty decorations. But he didn't buy it. He and another student actually built a device proving that these spots were actively producing a vital hormone. By his senior year, he grew wing cells in a culture, proving they required that exact specific hormone to develop. Finally, working in advanced government labs, he used sophisticated X-rays to identify the exact chemical structure of that very hormone. So, a year and a half later, he's staring at those X-ray photos of the hormone's chemical structure. And boom, he didn't run around shouting Eureka or anything, but he knew he had found something massive. DNA, as a quick refresher, is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. It's the literal blueprint for life. By understanding the chemical structure of that butterfly hormone, Ebright suddenly understood the mechanism of how a cell can physically read this blueprint. He had essentially solved one of the most complex puzzles in biology, a discovery that could theoretically lead to new ways of preventing cancer and other major diseases. Let's wrap things up with Section 6, Anatomy of a Scientist.
So who was the kind of person capable of making a leap like that? You might picture someone locked in a dark lab 24/7, right? But actually, Ebright was a champion debater, an excellent public speaker, a skilled canoeist, and just an all-around outdoorsman. Looking at his success, we can really distill a clear recipe here. First, start with a first-rate mind. Second, add an endless driving curiosity. And third, mix in the will to win for the right reasons. You see, he wasn't interested in just getting a shiny prize. He was highly competitive because he genuinely wanted to do the very best job he possibly could. That internal drive combined with just unyielding curiosity is the true anatomy of a scientist.
We've seen how looking closely at just a few gold spots on a pupa in Pennsylvania ended up unlocking the secrets of DNA reading. Richard Ebright never lost his scientific curiosity from the moment that children's book opened the world up to him. So I want to leave you with this question to ponder today. What everyday mysteries in your own world are you curious enough to investigate? Seriously, look around you. The next massive breakthrough might literally be hiding right in your own backyard. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep questioning everything.